Yo guys, it's Vin, and in this week's video, I'm going to be giving my 5 most advanced tips to make you guys bow masters. And also, one more thing to clarify, this video is not meant for beginners. We go over some very advanced things, and in order to make use of any of the things I say in this video, you need to know at least your basic bow, true combos, and strings. So I'm going to be putting some links in the description of what I think are the best bow guides on YouTube. And once you have a basic feel for the weapon, feel free to watch this video and hopefully I can teach you some things. Alright, anyway, without further ado, let's head in the video. Thanks, guys. Alright guys, bow time, baby, let's go. So the first advanced tip I have to give to any aspiring bow player is to condition your opponents from the very start of the match. Now, what does this mean? In my dictionary, conditioning basically means you show your opponent something on purpose in hopes of getting them to react a certain way when you show that situation again. Now, the most basic form of conditioning is starting your match with the full sidelight, delay, endlight recovery combo. Because I see a lot of people in experimental dash sidelight me, then they wait. They wait for me to dodge and then react to it. Now, in my opinion, waiting and then reacting to your opponent's dodge is the best way to read out of sidelight. However, that's only good if you know your opponent is going to dodge already. And how do you know your opponent's going to dodge if it's the start of the match? So a lot of times when people hit me with this sidelight, I just stand there. I just stand there and wait for them to do something, and my reaction time is fast enough where I can, 1, jump out of it, I can 2, dodge out of it, or I can just 3, do nothing and walk out of it. To avoid this rock, paper, scissors scenario where you have to guess, are they going to walk away from me? Are they going to jump? Are they going to dodge in one of 8 directions, which further complicates this read? You have to do sidelight, delay, endlight at the very beginning of the match to show your opponent that you are ready to follow up after sidelight, because then it forces them to use a dodge, and now that they don't have a dodge, when you catch that delight, you can do the full delay, endlight recovery. Now, conditioning your opponent doesn't have to be just doing sidelight, delay, endlight at the beginning of the match. It can also be used with the Sair. Because Sair sidelight is only 2 dodge frames on 7 decks Koji, and I believe on 6 decks or less, it's still only 3 dodge frames. A lot of people aren't going to be dodging this in the beginning of the match. However, once you show them the Sair sidelight, they're going to be ready for it the next time. And then, once they do that, they're probably going to be spamming their dodge key. I know in my experience, a lot of times people just spam spot dodge or up dodge. In the case of spot dodge, you can just do Sair, dash behind them, sidelight, delay, endlight, recovery. And if you do it fast enough without the person touching the ground after their dodge, the recovery will be confirmed. In the case of up dodge, which is the second most common dodge after Sair, you can do Sair, turn around, dash, turn around, endlight, recovery. Another really important thing about conditioning is endlight. Endlight is a great conditioning tool because of how fast this is. It is relatively punishable if you're on the ground, but if you fight a floaty player, you can just endlight to get them, to snipe them out of the air, which is really good because not only are you poking them, this is very annoying by the way to get hit by, but every time you hit them with an endlight, it puts that precedent in your opponent's mind that, oh, I gotta stay on the ground so I can't get hit by endlight. And now this is when you can do delay, endlight, recovery. Now the second thing I have to say is to not use dash delay as a crutch. The main reason that you condition people by using endlight is to get your opponent to play grounded. Now what happens when your opponent plays grounded? You can either sidelight them and go for that delay, endlight that I talked about, or you can just straight delight them. A lot of people like to use dash delight because, well, it's a great option. It literally covers half of Shipwreck Falls. But once you condition your opponent to play grounded, you can't rely on dash delight the whole match. If you're going against someone who's smart enough to play grounded after getting hit by like a dozen endlights in a row, then they're probably also going to be smart enough to adapt out of avoiding your dash delight. So I'm sorry, that was a very long-winded introduction to it, but please do not rely on dash delight or just delight in general as your approach option. There's many ways to approach, including just floating around them, falling Sair. You can float around them, falling Nair. If you know they're going to jump, you can dash endlight. There's so many other ways to approach your opponent, and a lot of times it's better to just play footsies and wait till they get close to sidelight to set up for a read. Bow's main strength is that it can cover so much area, so I know delight is pretty much like the epitome of covering a lot of area, but it doesn't mean that it's your only way to cover area. Now my third tip is to use movement as a read. I know that sounds really weird, but let me put it into context. Now, if you've been conditioning your opponent at the start of the match by doing sidelight and then delight, endlight, they're probably going to be ready to dodge in the middle of the match after every time you sidelight. Again, this is what you want. This is when you adapt to be able to do sidelight and then react to any dodge to be able to punish it. However, if you spam this type of read where you just do sidelight, wait, and then react to them, your opponent is probably going to catch on to the fact that you're not doing anything after sidelight. This is where your opponent is put back into that rock, paper, scissors scenario where they can either 1. Walk out of your combo, 2. Jump out of your combo, or 3. Just dodge out of it like they were doing before, except again, it's one of 8 directions. So this read becomes very complicated if your opponent knows that you're going to wait there. This is when you can instigate a dodge by using your movement as almost like an intimidation, kind of. Let me explain. A person who's doing this is a little bit more scary than someone who's just waiting, because here you're not exactly sure what they're going to do. Again, I would know that they're just going to try to react to me, but if I don't do anything, they're behind me, so they can just sidelight and set up for another read. So the only option for the person is to kind of dodge to get out of their way. So your main option here is to be doing some type of chase dodge that puts you in a weird scenario that makes your opponent uncomfortable. Because your opponent has been so used to you waiting, they're comfortable with all your options because they know that after you sidelight, you're gonna wait. But now you're gonna flip it on its head to where you're gonna do these weird chase dodges and you can do these weird reads because your opponent is probably gonna be uncomfortable with a type of chase dodge that looks like that. So they're not gonna be ready to dodge optimally because again, you're not doing the same thing that you were before. Some examples of really good chase dodges to use after sidelight are this one, diagonally up then diagonally down because it puts you right behind them. Another one that's really simple is just doing a chain dodge forward, because a lot of times people try to wake you up by doing a GC sig or something like that, like a GC downsig on Koji to try and wake you up. However, if you spaced out your chase dodges correctly, you're immune that whole time. So they're gonna waste their dodge, and now you can just do sidelight, delay, and late recovery. Now, using chase dodges and chain dodges isn't the only way to use movement as a read, otherwise I would have just titled this tip, Use Chase Dodges and Chain Dodges. Another way to use movement as a read is by using a dash jump. Now, using a dash jump instead of a chain dodge is great because you can conserve your dodge, and the reason why this is so important is because now you can use GC signatures, which are very optimal for punishing bad dodges, especially if you're playing a character like Koji with the floorboard that has an insane hitbox, so this will catch so many dodges. And doing a chain dodge is almost the same concept as using a dash jump, except dash jump is fairly limited because you can only go right above them. Whereas here, you can go behind them like this, you can go up and over, you can go like this. But either way, it's the same concept. If you were doing sidelight wait, then react to them, delay, and late recovery the whole match, they're probably not going to be expecting either a dash jump or a chain dodge. So they're probably going to dodge, and this is where you can do the same thing that you're doing before and just react to them. Except now, you found a new way to mix up your reactions. Alright, now on to my fourth tip, which is optimal follow-ups out of delay. Now I know this whole video I've been saying delay and late recovery, but the thing is that 90% of the time, delay and late recovery is not going to be your optimal follow-up. It's more optimal on white to go for a delay and late nair because that's a true combo in 6 decks or higher. I only say delay and late recovery because that's the conditioning tool you use in the beginning of the match to force your opponent to dodge. However, when you reach about yellow, delay and late recovery doesn't work as consistently anymore, as the end light sends your opponent very far away and it makes it extremely easy to just dodge or jump out of. This is when I would say you should use delay nair, because delay end light does only 26 damage, but delay nair does 28 damage, which is slightly better, especially because you can't really get the recovery follow-up after end light, so you might as well cut your losses and take the 2 extra damage. I also say that delay nair is most optimal in yellow health because juggling is perfect in this specific damage range. In white, delay nair won't send them very far. They'll probably end up around here where they can just fast fall back to the ground and your juggle will be over. However, in yellow health, they get sent in that sweet spot where they're around here, which gives you ample time to trace their movement and maybe end light them back down. Now, let's say that your opponent is on the same health, maybe yellow or even orange, and they're on this side of the map when you have all the stage control in the world. This is a great time to do D-Light Sair because it sends them off stage and allows you to get some more edgeguard follow-ups. We'll get more into edgeguarding later, but just know that having your opponent off stage is very, very advantageous because you have all the room in the world to do whatever you want. However, again, you should really only be doing this in yellow to orange, because as we see in white, there's no real reason to send them off stage, because they're sent right here and they can just come back right away. Now, another thing about 6 decks or higher, you can also follow up D-Light into Ground Pound True, which is a great combo that I don't see many people use. This is actually the most optimal combo because it does 32 damage, which is very comparable to Axe Sidelight Nair or even Hammer Stomp Sair, which is crazy because this is a string reed weapon doing the same amount of damage as a heavy weapon in one combo. The only caveat is that you need to have 6 decks or higher and be able to hit the D-Light kind of close. However, the scenario where this is really useful is when your opponent is peeking on the edge like this. If your opponent has their head peeking off the top of the ledge, you can surprise D-Light them and into Ground Pound. This combo is so underrated. I can't tell you the amount of times that people have D-Lighted me on the edge like this and opted to do Sair instead of Ground Pound, when Ground Pound would have probably killed me in light orange, because if you didn't know, Bow Ground Pound is the strongest Ground Pound in the game. Even stronger than Hammer Ground Pound. Now, I'm sorry guys, I know this tip is titled Optimal Follow-Ups out of D-Light, but there is one weird sidelight combo I did want to show you. You're not going to be catching this every single match, but it is useful to know, which is sidelight recovery. If you do a sidelight chase dodge diagonally down, not like that, sidelight chase dodge diagonally down into recovery, that is a true combo if you hit the sidelight really close. Now this is great because a lot of bow players like to do sidelight dash jump dare. However, the only thing with this is that you need to have the ground below you when you do the dash jump dare, or else you're going to get some really weird looking chase dodge diagonally down. However, this combo works perfectly in lieu of that because you don't need the ground under you. You can just do chase dodge down diagonal recovery. And even if you don't hit the sidelight close enough to get it true, people aren't ready for this combo, so in my experience, people get hit by this all the time just because this is so quick and they're not ready to dodge that one frame. Okay guys, one final tip for the video is to not edgeguard with Ground Pound. Now this kind of relates to conditioning, because if you're spamming dash jump Ground Pound all match, your opponent is going to be smart enough to do like just fall down. Your opponent is going to be like going outwards. They can probably just dodge through you and now they have stage control again. So dash jump Ground Pound is risky. Pretty much any dash jump off the ledge is really risky because you throw away all your stage control. But this relates to conditioning because if you edgeguard the whole match by standing up here instead of going off and trying to get an early kill because that's greedy, you can stand up here. As your opponent tries to go up again, you can end light, you can recovery, you can sidelight them back. As they're creeping up the wall like this, you can catch the top of their head with D-Light Sair to send them more off stage and put them into a further edgeguard position. Basically, you can do so many things on the ledge by just standing up here, which is great. However, if you do want to go off, you have the Sair option, which is great for edgeguarding. You can dare them to get a really easy kill. Of course, you can Ground Pound them, but this is the thing I was going to say. Just because this tip is titled Don't Edgeguard with Ground Pound doesn't mean that you don't ever use Ground Pound. This relates to conditioning because if you're standing up here the whole match, your opponent is going to get comfortable coming back up to stage. And also, if you edgeguard down here, but only using Sair and Dare the whole match, they're going to get conditioned to be comfortable with you on the edge. However, when it comes to the last stock on red, or when you really need to make a comeback, or just any time when they're on red, if you've been doing this the whole match, they're not going to expect the dash jump reverse Ground Pound. Let's say I'm playing Azoth and I'm spamming this side sig on the edge, right? I'm spamming side sig, D sig, end sig, spamming all my sigs. Now, when my opponent gets comfortable with this, on the very last stock, I surprise dash jump Ground Pound, which catches them almost every time. I can't tell you how many times I've caught this edge guard and won matches because of it. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you learned something, I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I spent a lot of time on this video. I spent a lot of time writing the script, recording it, actually editing it, and fine-tuning all these little things. It was kind of a lot, guys, so I would greatly appreciate it if you told me in the comments what you wanted to see with this video, like what was wrong with it, what I need to improve on, what I did good. I just really want the feedback so I can make better content for you guys. Alright guys, that's all I have to say, and thank you for watching. See you next week.